This is a video about an occurrence that happened in 2017. It involved 10:05 p.m., a night in October, and a horrible occurrence. I'm going to cut to the chase and tell you that a change was made in the law that would have had the effect of at least making this person who did this horrible thing in Las Vegas immediately a criminal by today's standards because of the one component that seems to have made a major difference in what happened. Now, I'm going to be bringing up some information that is factually correct, but hard to confirm or impossible depending on how people want to see things. One of the things that came out during all of this is that because machine guns are supposedly impossible to get in the United States, which has never been true, that Stephen Paddock could not possibly have done it. It must be the military or the police department or whatever, because they have rights to firearms and machine guns. Never mind that we have an unconfirmed report from somebody who said Stephen Paddock asked him for the parts needed to make effectively a machine gun, and that he had something that made it effectively him firing a machine gun by using a bump stock, and people claiming by lying that that wasn't possible. So we're going to go for a basic set of things here. Number one, I have at least one copy of video still up, I hope, by today, that compares actual machine gun fire to actual people using bump stock. Some of them doing a really good job making it sound like a machine gun, but it always has a set of differences that are easy to detect, proving really that Stephen Paddock fired not a machine gun, but a bump stock based gun. Out of 22,000 people that may or may not have been within shooting range, we're not doing the number of people within or around the venue or who had tickets. It doesn't matter. That's how many people he could have shot at. We're just going to use that as the conceit. 700 people are listed as, quote, injured, and 489 were listed as wounded. Specific wounds, whether it's fired from a fired cartridge or from an impact that looks like a bullet wound, or it's a bullet that went through one person and stopped in another, or whether or not the person knew that they'd been injured by a bullet and didn't know exactly what happened, or they fell on something, they're just listed as wounded. We had, at the time, 58 dead. 2 more died over a period of time, 1 many years later. After 1,058 rounds were fired. Now that's based on counting the number of cartridges found in the building that were able to be counted, and counting them twice or more. And also based on comparing them with the ballistics of people who had recoverable bullets, bullets that showed no real deformation, bullets that showed fracturing, whatever they could do. They decided to base it on the empty cartridges on the floor and on the sounds from the recordings. Not all the recordings picked up all the shots. This was over an 11-minute period of time, firing 1,058 rounds. Almost, we're going to call it 1,100 rounds, 100 rounds a minute on average, let's call it, right? Okay. This was done in 12 volleys or sets of 9 to 13 seconds each, with 10 volleys being around 100 rounds. Around meaning slightly over or slightly less, either because Paddock dropped one gun and fired really quickly afterwards, where you couldn't really tell that he stopped one and brought up the other rather early in his shooting activity, and or Paddock cramming more bullets in a magazine than should fit could cause these. And there's some variation in what the numbers are because of reflections of sounds and echoing. Next, 7 to 11 rounds per second from 14 AR15 rifles with bump stocks. Each second, 7 shots to 11 shots in dynamic range. This is multiple sources. They're not agreeing with each other. This is me doing a basic synopsis of a presumption here. 9 or 12 may have had 100-round magazines as far as the AR-15s with bump stocks. There were 14 of them, and 9 or 12 had a bump stock. He could have broken one off, taken one off. It could have been a gun that didn't fire anything. Some of the guns were fired with multiple magazines. Other guns were only fired till one magazine emptied and he dropped it, picked up another gun. And the reason he had so many firearms is it made it to where if there was a jam up, he could switch immediately to the gun right in front of him. He just stacked them up, threw them away behind him when he was done with them, whatever. People imagining that that's not mechanically possible for a middle-aged man to do, hauling stuff upstairs because he had bad teeth or whatever, saying it was impossible for him to bring it up. Those are deflection arguments that don't matter. And yeah, he spent days hauling the stuff up, or a day hauling it up, in multiple trips, bypassing most things that would have caught him. What would have prevented this thing? Let's continue with what happened, though. He may also have had, and he did, 8 AR-10 rifles, a bolt-action rifle, and a revolver at the time in the building. Now, people are going to say, but that's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is the narrow range of what I just said. What do we check? But first, what would have stopped him from being able to get away with this? Let's do the quick ones. Not having bump stocks. Okay? That's one of the presumptions. The second one, metal detectors, him going in with metal and having the baggage opened. Some of you out there that would have said that also scream loudly if someone tells you that you have to have your stuff searched going on an airplane, which is a much more sensitive situation. 10 minutes without a break, 106 rounds per minute is the rate. If you're not aware of what that rate is, that's firing twice a second easily. So it's not hard to do that in 10 minutes or 11 minutes if he was firing consistently. Bang, bang, bang. Bump stock not needed. Case closed, right? You can watch a video of 30 rounds in 3 seconds or 10 rounds per second with a binary trigger. This is another technology that was available but was more expensive than the bump stocks. You pull the trigger, it fires, you release the trigger, and then you can fire again. That's a normal trigger. This one fires, and then when you release, it fires again. I consider that a bad design, but it has the effect of bang, 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 bang. You can keep it on target because you're firing basically a 2-round burst almost, just by pulling and releasing. You can watch a 30 rounds in 6 seconds or 5 rounds per second of someone firing a gun as well. 30 rounds in 6 seconds at 6 rounds per second. 100 rounds in 25 seconds, which is 4 rounds per second, measly rate. All of these, you're going to have to watch them to see if the person's using anything other than a finger. And binary trigger again video. So, a semi-automatic weapon, an AR-15, assault rifle, no, it's Armalite. But these bits of information tell you that the firearms he was using, even just pulling the trigger, could have had a similar rate. But using a binary trigger makes it a lot easier, and you can get very consistent shooting and aim. He didn't care about aiming, firing with a bump stock, where the gun is rattling back and forth between your fingers like this, so it pulls its own trigger by recoil into a sometimes spring-loaded butt stock. And in practicing at someplace to get good at it enough to do this, if he didn't care about hitting anything accurately, and if he wanted randomization to where he would hit things, he was well versed in math and statistics. He would have known about the scatter plot effect and scatter shot effect. Yeah, bump stocks being restricted before this would have made it, number one, him breaking the law by doing this, and number two, he might not have done it or been able to do it as well. The efficiency with which he did this, where he effectively killed 60 people after firing thousands of rounds, 1,000 rounds or more, shows he was a shit shot. And the major reason he was able to hit anybody is he could fire off a lot of rounds before they could scatter and make it harder to shoot. A lot of, if not all of the people who were shot and killed were in the first few volleys, is the presumption that's been made and stated. Counting shots during it, depending on which video you watch, shows several groups of 100 shots or less being in one video. And in another video, it seems to show what appears to be several little bursts, but it's a jam from one magazine. Another one where it seems like it's 130 to 160 rounds, but it could have been a quick change out between 2 magazines, or him lining up one gun, dropping it, and then firing the next one so fast that you can't tell the difference. Now I'm going to bring up the assault rifle definition and what rules would be in place to stop this. Again, metal detectors in any building tall enough to act as a shooter's nest. How many times has this been done from a building like this? Making the windows unable to be broken. It's not hurricane glass being bulletproof or impact proof. That's not really true. That's not real. These were gas insulated double pane plate glass. but they were made not to be easily broken if there was a high wind. Okay. Let's talk about the semi-automatic assault weapon AR-15 type definition. Short, compact weapon with a box magazine, intermediate cartridge, effective range at least 300 meters or 330 yards, select fire machine gun. That's an actual assault rifle. Semi-automatic rifles able to accept detachable magazine and any two of the following features. A flash hider, threaded barrel to take it or anything like that, a folding or telescoping stock, pistol grip under the action, bayonet mount, grenade launcher, and in some cases having a foregrip that can be at a 90-degree angle. Holding a gun that's firing semi-auto or full auto fast enough to where it actually disturbs where you're pointing can be compensated for by using a muzzle device to keep it from creeping up and down, and also making it to where it doesn't rock and roll back and forth as much. But having a fore and aft grip that's at a 90-degree angle to the barrel makes it to where you can make it more stable and fire potentially full auto. So a lot of the rules are about regulating that. And again, a semi-automatic weapon isn't. It's an auto-reloading instead of an auto-firing weapon. It doesn't fire twice for every trigger pull or 10 times. It fires once. It's just a standard rifle. But anyway, assault weapon definition there includes grenade launcher, bayonet mounts, under the action pistol grips, folding or telescoping stock, a threaded barrel for anything you want on it, compensators. But again, that's not really a machine gun, and that's somebody trying to make a non-machine gun regulated like a machine gun. Semi-automatic pistol is an assault pistol if it can accept a detachable magazine outside of the grip. Any two of the following features: a threaded barrel, unloaded weight below a weight of 50 ounces or more, a heavy gun. So it's more of a rifle that's been scaled down and designed that way. Okay. A magazine that attaches outside of the pistol grip. A barrel shroud, so you can use basically the barrel as a foregrip and fire it like a rifle. A semi-automatic version of a full auto weapon, in any case, can be declared an assault weapon or assault, because it's based on using a military gun and just making a civilian version of it. But then again, many military firearms are militarized versions of civilian weapons. Semi-automatic shotguns, any two features. Folding or telescoping stock, again, because it makes it to where you can make it concealable. If you're not aware of it, that's where that comes from. It just makes it easier to hide. A pistol grip under the action, instead of a inline one where you're holding it like this, you can hold it like this and fire it with better ergonomics. Detachable magazine again, or a fixed magazine capacity in a shotgun over 5 rounds. Okay. So, why am I doing this video? Part of this is what rules like that would have affected Stephen Paddock being able to shoot. The magazine capacity limit. He would have had to change magazines more often, more opportunities for fucking up, more delays. Yes, that would have affected Stephen Paddock's reign of terror. The bump stock being banned beforehand, like it really should have, really honestly. It was questioned, they should have done it, instead of erring on the side of nicety. Yeah, that would have affected it. Definitely would have affected the outcome. Having metal detectors in the building and saying, if you enter the building and a metal detector goes off, we're going to scan your shit. Paddock wouldn't have gone to the building. He would have had to find someplace else to shoot from. Lying about whether this happened doesn't change it. Lying about the firing rate being nearly faster than a machine gun that would be considered a stable platform, lying about that is a bad idea too. Saying binary triggers won't do the same thing is bullshit. They actually do a better job of it, and they're legal. They're the next to go, most likely. In fact, a couple of them have been warned by the ATF. It's not legal because it's too close to being a machine gun. Some of them just are, by their estimates. Does that stop you from making a Gatling gun that can shoot even faster and has fewer jams? No. Do I believe the bump stock ban was acceptable? It's acceptable, I guess. Do I think it's going to fix it? No. Do I think somebody is just going to put in a ridiculously cheap, easily made, open-sourced machine gun drop-in replacement, auto-sear, which you can just look up drop-in auto-sear, or the initials? I don't think this is going to be stopped at all. But That's my evaluation of it. Please comment below. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that.